Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really getting into something fundamental, your core values.
Yeah, those deep-seated beliefs that ideally should be guiding you.
Exactly. Think of them like your own personal compass. When you understand them clearly, they point you towards work, relationships, just life choices that feel truly right for you.
And we're going to explore how journaling, specifically using an AI audio journaling app like Chosen, can be a really powerful tool for gaining that clarity.
Because that clarity isn't always easy to find, is it?
No, definitely not. So many people, often without realizing it, are kind of operating based on what society thinks is important, or maybe old family patterns, instead of what genuinely drives them.
And that mismatch that can lead to feeling, a bit lost, or procrastinating, feeling unfulfilled.
Absolutely, that sense of misalignment. So our mission today is to dive into how audio journaling, particularly with Chosen, helps you tap into those authentic values.
We'll look at different ways to think about values, hear some real stories.
And crucially, give you practical steps you can take using Chosen to start living more in line with who you really are.
Okay, let's jump in. There are some really insightful frameworks out there. Where should we start? Maybe Dr. John Demartini. His approach seems very grounded.
Yes, Demartini's great. His core idea is that everyone has this unique hierarchy of values. It dictates pretty much everything, how you see the world, the decisions you make, what you actually do.
And he makes a distinction, right, between what's high on the list and what's lower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Whatever's highest on your personal value list, you're intrinsically motivated to do it. You just do it spontaneously. Things lower down. They often need some kind of external push, like discipline or someone else telling you to do it.
Okay, so how do you figure out what's actually high on your list versus what you think should be?
That's the key part. Demartini stresses that your true values are demonstrated. You have to look at the evidence of your life.
The evidence? Like how?
Like, how do you actually spend your free time? Where does your money really go? What topics do you find yourself thinking or talking about most? Where in your life are you naturally most organized and disciplined? These actions reveal your true priorities, filtering out the shoulds and ideals.
So it's less about wishful thinking and more about observing reality.
Precisely. He has this process, I think it's like 13 questions, designed to uncover these demonstrated values. Questions like, what do you fill your personal space with? Or what conversations dominate your thoughts? Simple questions, but the answers can be really revealing.
And the benefit of knowing this.
Huge benefits. Demartini says knowing your true values allows you to live with intent, with purpose, with clarity. As he put it, whatever's highest on that list of values, they spontaneously, intrinsically are driven to fulfill it. Stop fighting yourself.
And if you're not aligned,
that's when you feel that lack of drive, that sense of, I have to do this. Fulfillment comes from living in sync with your highest values. He really emphasized your life's demonstration speaks louder than your assumptions, hopes, or idealisms.
That quote really sticks, your life's demonstration. Okay, let's shift gears. Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind. How does that tie in?
Well, Covey's habit, #2 from the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is all about envisioning where you ultimately want to end up. What kind of person do you want to be? What do you want to achieve?
So creating a sort of personal blueprint.
Exactly. He talks about creating a personal mission statement, like your own constitution. It's about living life by your own design, not just reacting or drifting. And the foundation of that mission statement has to be your core values.
Makes sense. Your long-term vision needs to be built on what truly matters to you.
Right. And if your values are fuzzy, or worse, conflicting, maybe you value security but also crave adventure. That creates problems.
Inner conflict.
Yeah. Tony Robbins talks a lot about this. He says quite directly, anytime you have difficulty making an important decision, you can be sure that it's the result of being unclear about your values. That clarity is crucial for decisiveness.
So how do you resolve those conflicts if you find them?
Robbins suggests aligning your heart and head, basically, getting your unconscious desires and your conscious goals on the same page. He says, you can resolve internal conflicts when your heart and head, unconscious mind, and conscious mind are in alignment.
Okay.
He also brings in the pain-pleasure principle, the basic human drive to avoid pain and seek pleasure. Understanding your values helps you consciously use this principle.
How so?
Instead of being unconsciously pushed around by fleeting desires or fears, you can use your understanding of what brings you deep, value-aligned pleasure or fulfillment to guide your choices.
Yeah.
Robbins puts it like this. The secret of success is learning how to use pain and pleasure instead of having pain and pleasure use you. If you do that, you're in control of your life. If you don't, life controls you.
So value clarity gives you the steering wheel.
Pretty much. It lets you direct that fundamental drive intentionally.
Okay, another really different perspective comes from Viktor Frankl and logotherapy. His focus is meaning, right? Especially in suffering.
Yes, Frankl's work, born from his own horrific experiences, is profound. It shifts the focus. Values aren't just about achieving happiness or success in the conventional sense. They're about what gives your life meaning and purpose, which is what allows you to endure hardship and find resilience.
So values are connected to our ability to cope and find purpose, even when things are tough.
Exactly. His view suggests that our deepest values are often revealed or forged in adversity. It's about how we respond to challenges, the meaning we choose to find in them.
How could you use audio journaling with Chosen to explore that? It sounds intense.
It can be, but incredibly valuable. You could use Chosen to reflect specifically on challenging times in your life. Ask yourself things like, what got me through that? What principles did I lean on? What did that experience teach me about what's fundamentally important?
So looking back at tough times, not just for the pain, but for the values that emerged.
Right. Frankl believed our values are deeply connected to how we interpret and respond to pain. Journaling, especially audio journaling, where you can really talk it through, becomes a way to actively make meaning from those experiences and solidify your understanding of the values that sustain you. It builds resilience.
That adds a whole other dimension. Okay, let's look at acceptance and commitment therapy, ACT. How does ACT approach values?
ACT has a really practical take. It sees values not as goals you achieve, like get promoted, but as ongoing directions, like being a supportive colleague or living healthily. They're like compass points, guiding how you want to live moment to moment, day by day.
So less destination, more direction of travel.
Exactly. And clarifying these chosen life directions is central to ACT because the therapy is all about helping you take committed action towards those values, even when difficult thoughts or feelings show up.
How does journaling, maybe specifically audio journaling with Chosen, fit into the ACT model for value clarity?
It fits perfectly. You can use Chosen to really articulate what your chosen values are across different parts of your life, work, relationships, health, personal growth, you name it. Then you can use it to check in. Are my actions actually moving me in those chosen directions?
Are there specific ACT exercises that translate well to audio journaling?
Definitely. Things like imagining you're giving a speech at your own 80th birthday party. What would you want to be able to say about how you lived? Talking that through in Chosen can uncover core values, or using something like the Life Compass exercise to map out values in different domains.
And then acting on them.
Yes. Setting small, manageable, values-aligned goals like call a friend I haven't spoken to in a while if you value connection, and then reflecting on your progress in Chosen. That's the committed action part.
What about the acceptance part of ACT? How does journaling help there?
Well, when those inevitable difficult thoughts or emotions arise, fear, self-doubt, frustration that might pull you away from your values, audio journaling in Chosen can be a space to acknowledge them. To say, okay, I'm feeling really anxious about this presentation, and my value is to share my ideas openly. It helps you accept the feeling without letting it dictate your actions. Practicing cognitive diffusion too, just noticing thoughts as thoughts, not commands.
Got it. One more framework, cognitive behavioral therapy journaling, CBTJ. How does CBT look at values?
CBT, being very structured and problem-focused, often uses journaling to help you spot discrepancies. Specifically, the gap between your stated values and your actual behavior, that value-action gap we mentioned earlier.
Okay, so it's about identifying where things aren't lining up.
Right. CBTJ helps you do that by systematically examining the links between situations, your thoughts, your feelings, and your actions.
How would you use Chosen for that in a CBT kind of way?
You'd use Chosen to regularly record specific situations. What happened? What thoughts went through your head? How did you feel? What did you do? Over time, listening back, you start seeing patterns. Whenever X happens, I think Y feels Z, and then I do A, even though I say I value B. That's pattern recognition.
And then you can directly compare.
Exactly. You can do a specific value-action gap analysis. You state a value, say, I value being present with my family. Then you journal about your evening. Spend an hour scrolling on my phone while the kids were playing. You explicitly note the gap in Chosen. Maybe use prompts like, how did my actions tonight align with my value of presence?
Sounds confronting, but useful.
It is. CBTJ also helps with cognitive restructuring. If you find a thought blocking your value-aligned behavior like, you value career growth but think, I'm not smart enough for that promotion, you can use Chosen to challenge that thought. Examine the evidence for and against it. Find more balanced, helpful thoughts. It's about modifying those unhelpful patterns that keep you stuck.
Wow, okay. So many different lenses. Demartini, Covey, Frankl, ACT, CBT, all pointing towards the power of understanding your values and how journaling can help get you there.
Absolutely. And hearing from people who've actually done this can make it feel more real.
Let's get into those real stories then. What did people find when they started journaling for self-discovery?
Well, one source we looked at, an article on subconscious journaling techniques, the author admitted being skeptical at first, like really skeptical. But journaling became, in their words, a window into my inner life, especially during a really difficult time when their father was ill.
So it helped during a crisis.
Yeah. And beyond that, they talked about recognizing these old patterns. There was this specific story about a conversation with a family member that triggered this automatic response of trying to please everyone, overextending themselves.
An old habit kicking in.
Exactly. But because they'd been journaling, they recognized it as it was happening. They felt that click of awareness and were actually able to stop the pattern in its tracks. That self-awareness, fostered by journaling, was key.
That's powerful. Just noticing the pattern can break its hold.
Mm-hmm. The article also brought up a quote from filmmaker Guillermo del Toro about art accessing the subconscious and related it to journaling, how it helps connect your conscious mind with those deeper subconscious beliefs and drivers, which absolutely shapes your values.
Okay, and what about audio journaling specifically? You mentioned that Reddit thread. What unexpected things did people find?
Oh, that thread was fascinating.
Yeah.
The original poster started voice journaling just for, task management, but found it boosted their focus, helped them explore ideas way more deeply than typing, and even improved their speaking skills.
Interesting. Deeper exploration.
Yeah, and they started noticing how they approach topics, their own thinking patterns.
Mm-hmm.
Someone else mentioned using it like soundboarding, basically talking through plans or problems aloud to themselves.
Kind of like the rubber duck method programmers use. Talk to the duck, find the bug.
Exactly that idea. And others confirmed this clarity benefit. One person specifically said listening back to their voice journals, especially using an app that transcribed, was wild. Quote, "It's wild how much you can learn just by listening to yourself, catching nuances and thought patterns they totally missed while speaking."
Hearing your own voice reflecting your thoughts back must be quite something.
It seems so. There was even a funny anecdote from someone journaling about a health issue, really getting into it, and then their astrology app pinged with a notification eerily related to what they were just saying. A sort of universe's listening moment, highlighting that connection to your inner stream of consciousness.
Okay, that's uncanny.
Right. But it points to how tuned in you can become. The term self-corrective articulation came up too, the idea that simply speaking thoughts aloud can change them, lead to shifts in perspective right there in the moment.
And crucially for our topic today.
Crucially, yes. One commenter specifically mentioned that voice journaling, using an app, was the thing that finally helped them nail down their core assumptions and values. Something clicked for them through that process.
That's a direct hit for what we're talking about.
Absolutely. And one last cool insight from that thread. Someone realized, because their voice note app grouped similar recordings, that they kept circling back to the same core ideas without consciously realizing it. This allowed them to finally dig deeper into those recurring themes, which are often linked to, you guessed it, core values.
So both the act of speaking and the ability to review seem really powerful for this kind of self-discovery.
Definitely. These stories really drive home that journaling, and maybe especially audio journaling with a tool like Chosen, isn't just navel-gazing. It's a practical technique for uncovering what genuinely matters to you.
Okay, this is inspiring. Let's make it super practical now. If someone listening wants to use audio journaling, specifically with Chosen, to get clear on their core values, what steps should they take?
All right, let's break it down. First step, actually set aside some time. Dedicate specific audio journaling sessions in Chosen, just for exploring values. Don't just hope it happens. Schedule it.
Like an appointment with yourself. And what should they talk about? Just start rambling.
Rambling can be good, but prompts can help focus things. We've touched on a few ideas already from the frameworks. Think about using prompts like, describe a time you felt incredibly proud. What values were you honoring? Or what activities make you lose track of time? What values might be underneath that?
What about Demartini's idea, observing behavior?
Yes. A great prompt is a sort of behavioral audit. Looking at the last week, where did my time, energy, and money actually go? What does this tell me about my current values in action? Or Covey's idea. Imagine your 80th birthday. What do you hope people say about you? Talk about that ideal legacy. Reflecting on peak moments of joy or times of deep frustration can also reveal values being met or violated.
So using life experiences as the raw material.
Exactly. And the key, when you hit record and chosen, try to follow that advice from the subconscious journaling source. Speak freely. Don't edit yourself as you go.
Just let it flow out.
Yeah. Don't worry about sounding smart or coherent initially. The goal is to bypass the inner critic and let the more authentic stuff surface. You can make sense of it later.
Which brings us to the next step, listening back.
Absolutely critical.
Yeah.
Schedule time for that too. Listen back to your chosen recording, specifically looking for themes. What words or ideas keep popping up? Where does your energy lift or drop in your voice? What patterns emerge in how you talk about different areas of your life? This is where you connect the dots.
And how can you connect this back to, say, the CBT idea of the value-action gap?
While listening, or in a follow-up chosen entry, you can explicitly analyze situations you talked about. Okay, I journaled about snapping at my partner. My stated value is kindness. Where was the disconnect? What thoughts or feelings were driving my actions? You use the recording as data for self-analysis.
So it's an iterative process. Record, reflect, analyze, maybe record more based on the insights.
Precisely, and regularly revisit the values you think you have. Ask and chosen. Is my life today reflecting my value of creativity? If not, why not? What's getting in the way? Maybe it's a limiting belief, I'm not actually creative, that you can then challenge, like in CBT.
Any other tips for using chosen effectively here?
Yeah, a couple more. Use chosen to simply capture moments. What brings you real joy? Record a quick note about it. What consistently drains you or makes you feel resentful? Record that too. These are valuable clues.
Like little data points about your values and action.
Exactly. And try that begin with the end in mind exercise explicitly. Use chosen to describe your ideal future in vivid detail. Then listen back and pull out the core values embedded in that vision. What has to be true for that future to feel right?
And the main thing is consistency.
Yes. Values clarity isn't a one-and-done thing. It's an ongoing journey of self-discovery and refinement. Use chosen as your regular companion for that process. Check in, reflect, adjust course.
This has been incredibly insightful, really mapping out how understanding our core values is so central and how audio journaling can be such a direct route to that understanding.
Yeah, the big takeaway really is that knowing your values isn't just a nice to have. It's pretty fundamental if you want to live authentically, make decisions you feel good about long term, and just generally increase your sense of well-being and purpose.
And chosen as an audio journaling tool seems uniquely suited for this, that combination of speaking freely, capturing your thoughts easily, and then having those recordings to reflect on. It's powerful.
It really is. The act of articulating, then listening back. It creates this feedback loop for self-awareness that's hard to replicate otherwise. We definitely encourage you to try it for exploring your own values.
And you can actually try Chosen for free. Just call the toll-free number 888-576-5669. That's 888-JRNL-NOW and NOBU.
888-576-5669. Give it a try, and maybe just to leave you with something to chew on.
A final thought.
Yeah. Thinking about everything we've discussed, what's just one small thing, one tiny step you could take today to act more in alignment with a value that, deep down truly matters to you?